Hello everyone. As you all well know, we've been having issues in NetLabs. So I hope to have it all resolved and everything working by next week sometime. But in the meantime, what we'll do is I've modified the second assignment that's coming up for next week. And I had been planning on having you install the TSMENU, the troubleshooting environment, later in the class, but we'll move it up front so this way we can get this done and we'll use that as the assignment. So pretty straightforward to get everything set up. Just follow along what I'm about to show you and you should be fine. Now it will depend. I'm going to be demonstrating it on a Windows install. If you are installing on a Mac or you're installing on Linux, just go check out the VirtualBox documentation and it'll walk you through that process too, or just do a Google and you'll find everything you need. Click this first link here. This tutorial will be there once I'm done with it. You click this first link right here, download and install. What that will do is it will take you to this page here. I'm going to actually click on this link because I want to show you there's actually two pieces of software that you have to install. So the first thing you need to do is install the Windows, and once again it depends on your operating system, but for me it's the Windows host binary for VirtualBox. So that's the first piece. There's actually two pieces you need to install, and this is important. And then after that, you're going to install the extension pack. Now, this actually may not have a big impact for this particular class because we'll be using pretty much a terminal for accessing TSMENU, so we shouldn't have too many issues. But still, you should just install the extension pack. Anyway, so two pieces of software, right? Host, extension pack. I've downloaded both of those, so I'll be going through the install in a second. Bring that out here. First one you want to install is the actual VirtualBox software. So the little green cube, that's what it'll look like on your machine. That comes second. So I'll go through and I will install this. Make any changes you want to. I'm going to put it on a different drive. You don't have to change anything, of course. And I'll just click through and go through the install process. It's like any other piece of software, not very complicated to install. As long as you remember to put the extension pack on, you should be good. So once this is done, it's already done. There you go. Now it's installed. I will click Finish, and that will launch a VirtualBox. You can see I already imported the machines, and I'm going to get rid of them. I'll delete them because I'm going to import them in fresh. Alright, so VirtualBox is installed. If you want to install the extension pack, just go back to your downloads folder wherever you've downloaded and double click on that. Might give you some error message, a little weird thing like this. Not sure why it's doing that, but just go past it. And it'll ask you if you want. I'm reinstalling the extension pack. Scroll down and say I agree. Once again, I don't think this will really impact the environment that we're setting up, but in the future, if you have machines, it definitely is nice to have the extension pack on there. And that's it. There you go. That is installing VirtualBox. I don't think there's anything else we need to do for that one now. Okay, so that's VirtualBox. Simple. Next, what I'll do is I'll show you how to import the machines and get them set up. That'll be in the next video. Alright, so VirtualBox is installed. What we'll do next is import the two images that I've built for the class. They're links. Step number 3, you're going to download the server image and the client image. The client image is what you'll be using the vast majority of the time, and the server image has the resources you need for the TSMENU environment. So you'll click on those. Now server 1 is large, so make sure you're on the fast network when you're downloading it. It'll take some time. And it's large because it has the whole repository, so basically a copy of the DVD is on there, and so that takes up a lot of space. But you don't know what scenarios you'll be going through, so you pretty much need access to everything. Now you don't have internet access in this environment, so just be aware of that. So you'll download the server. I've already done that. So you'll see a message similar to this when you go to download it. It's perfectly fine. I built it myself, so it shouldn't have any issues. And then after you're done with that, you'll go back and you'll download the client. So I've also done that, and now we'll go through the import process. Get rid of that. No, I don't want to reinstall anything. Let me just make sure I only have one instance of this open here. Okay. Once you've downloaded the machine, put them in some place that you can easily find them, like here. And you can, once they're downloaded, you could just double click on the OVA image and it will open up VirtualBox and install it. I'll show you the proper way to import it, if you will. Open up VirtualBox Manager, select File from the top of the menu, and then select Import. You can also, this is new, you can also just select it from there. This is a brand new version, brand new interface actually on VirtualBox. So, a little new. Click on that, and then you just need to go find the OVA file that you downloaded. So I'll move this over here for a second, and I'll do that. So the first one I'll import is the server. So I'll import the server in. You can change the memory. Now, once again, with this system, there is no graphical environment. And the reason there's no graphical environment is because I've set the system to go into multi-user target mode when it starts up as opposed to graphical target mode. If you have lots of memory on your system, then you can enable the graphic mode if you want to. And you should know how to do that, moving between the system control commands. Not necessary to do anyway, right? You can stay right where you are in the non-graphical environment. It'll work. And at 1 gig of RAM, both the server and the client both have 1 gig of RAM, which hopefully will be enough for your system. Now, these are 64-bit operating systems, so if you're running on some old laptop, you're probably going to have an issue with that. As a matter of fact, you will have an issue with that. So just be aware of that. It needs to be a 64-bit operating system. You can increase the RAM. You don't have to, but you can if you want to. Now, the other important thing that I point out, that's all just information. And by the way, the password is right up there. It's make it so. And you'll see that again once it's imported. The one thing I want you to do is down at the bottom, this is something new. I want you to select include all network adapter MAC addresses from that drop-down menu at the bottom. And that's because when you import the virtual machine into VirtualBox, it will change the MAC addresses. Not the end of the world, but it probably will disrupt the interfaces coming up properly and cause you more troubleshooting that you'll have to go through. You won't have that problem if you change it so that it includes all network adapter addresses. Basically, you're saying don't change the MAC address, because what's happening, it assumes you want to import this machine in and change the MAC address on the interface cards, because if you have two of the same MAC addresses, you'll have conflicts. That's not going to be an issue because you're actually in a private, isolated network with these machines. That's the way I've configured it by default. Go ahead and select import. I'll let it go through the import process. I'll pause the video and then start it back up again once it's fully imported. All right, so server 1 has been imported into the environment. And the next thing I'll do is go grab the client, which is station 1. I'll select import. I'll go get that. All right. Same thing. You can change the memory if you want to. This is the main station you'll be working on. I don't think you should do anything to server 1. Not necessary. But this is the station that you will use as the troubleshooting station. So if you want to, you can increase the memory. Once again, not necessary. You can still go through everything and it's perfectly fine. Okay, and just make sure, right, you don't want the system changing MAC addresses, which it will do with this new version of the software. It'll do that automatically. It didn't used to do that, so you may not be used to that. And that's it. Okay, so we'll import it. Make sure that adapter is correct. And then we'll go through the import process for the client. once again, I'll pause the video and then I'll start it back up once it's all imported in. All right, well, that was quicker than the server import. Just take your time when you're going through the import process. Depending on your machine, it may take a little bit of time to import those virtual computers into your system. Both of these devices should be on the internal network. So if you double click on the network, they both should be on this internal network. If they're not, that's not super critical. They just have to be on the same network together. But by default, that's how it's going to come in, and you can leave it there. Actually, it'll never cause any interference with anything else, and it shouldn't anyway. So that is what both of the devices will be on the internal network. And both of them will be there. And what I would recommend you do is just go ahead and start up server 1 first. Not super critical really in the order, because I manually added the IP address for the client. As it's booting up, this is what you'll see. So this is the server. Once again, you don't even have to log into the server. Just get the server up and make sure it's accessible for the client, or to the client, I should say. Okay, so there's the server. I'm not even going to log in. It's the same password. Password's the same on both of them. And then I will start up the client. After they're both up, we'll verify that they can connect, and then we are going to take snapshots. So you'll notice this one opens up in, I forget what they call this mode. It's kind of extends the terminal here. If you want to get out of this on your keyboard, on the Windows keyboard anyway, it's Control F and then Control F again, and that will release it from that. And what is that thing called? Oh, scale mode. That's what I had it in. Because if you don't put it in scale mode, it ends up being a fairly small menu. But if you put it in scale mode, let me get it out of here. Oh, and by the way, right control key will release your mouse, and it says that right down here, right? So the right control key releases your mouse. So if I go up here and go to scale mode, it just makes it a little bit bigger, and then you can actually make it larger if you want to, change the size of it. That's really up to you. Pretty much this is where I want it, but I'll make it just to show you. You can make it bigger, you can make it smaller. Just makes it a little bit easier to read. Okay, so in this one, you have to log in as root, and the passwords make it so, like Captain Picard used to say. And from here, what I want you to do, the first thing I want you to do is go ahead and try to ping server 1. So I can ping based on its IP address, and I'm going to just try to ping based on its server name too. Yep, okay. So that verifies that at least it's out there, and it's available to the client. And then once you have that set up, what I recommend you do is go ahead and take snapshots of both devices. Now, the size of the snapshot will be smaller if you if you power off the machine. I'm not going to do that, but all you would have to do is just go to each one of them, right click, and take a snapshot. Where is it? Oh, there it is. They've moved things around on me. I'm sorry. So you take a snapshot. Go ahead and take it. You can call it whatever you want, and the same thing with the client. So take snapshots of both of those once you know they can communicate. Because if they can communicate, then it's probably going to work from here on out. If you ever have a problem with the virtual machine, meaning you get into a troubleshooting scenario and you broke it and you cannot fix it, which can happen, then just snapshot back. As long as you have a snapshot, you're good. And if you don't have a snapshot, you just delete those machines and you import them back in, and you're good to go. All right, so let's go ahead and open up the client again. And from here, once you've logged in as root, I will type TSMENU. And that opens up the different options, troubleshooting scenarios that you have available. What I want you to do for this assignment is to go through the learning scenario, where it actually shows you how to use the TSMENU interface. So I will click on group 0, which is when you can just move your arrow keys to get different groups. I'll click on troubleshooting group 0, and in here I'm going to complete that scenario. So this is trouble group 0 scenario, learning scenario, and this is what I want you to complete. And I'll open it up. And basically, it's going to go through, and once again, this is just about you learning the environment. This is not actually a problem. It wants you to create a file called solved in root's home directory. And when the system finds that file there, it will say that the scenario has been completed. So I will tell it to break the system. Now, why you need the server 1 is that sometimes packages or scripts or different resources are downloaded to your client depending on the break you're going through. All right, so the system is broken. If you want to see the scenario, you can start TSMENU up again, or you can just go to the root of the file system, and at the root of the file system there's a text file called problem.txt. You can see it on the screen there. If I cat that, that's going to give me the description of what I need to do to fix the system. So once again, the problem is an empty file needs to be created in root's home directory named solve. Easy enough to do, but let's see what happens. Let's go just look at what happens if the scenario is a little more complex than that. I can run TSMENU again. It will go through and check to see if the scenario is completed, and if it's not, it'll come up with this message. This is not an error that the system is broken, it's an error that you have not completed the scenario. So, okay, cool. What it'll do after it tells you that is it'll drop you here. So you can go back and reread the description. You can check that, if you want to check to see if the system is working. Maybe it was a mistake. I doubt it. Or even better, you can go get a hint from the menu. And if I press that, you can see that there are a total of 3 hints it will give me. What I would suggest you do is go through, use the hints as you need to, and then practice. Can I fix that? Wait a few days, maybe a week or two, and then can I fix that without actually going through all the hints? And that would be a real big boost for your troubleshooting skills. So I'll say okay, and I'll say, you know what, I need another hint. So I click hint again, and it tells me the touch command can be used to create an empty file, right? So once again, it's guiding me to the answer, but it's not giving me the answer right off the bat. It will typically give you the answer at the very last hint. So if I get out of here and go back in again, sure enough, it tells me, okay, to solve this problem, you need to touch a file in root's home directory named solve. Simple. So we'll get out of that. We'll say okay. And I'm in PWD. Where am I? I'm at the root of the file system, so I want to go to root's home directory here. PWD. I'm in root's home directory, and then I'm just going to touch the solve. Done. We'll run TSMENU again. It's going to check the system for me, and boom, success. It comes back and tells me that the scenario is completed. I'll be posting more of these that I want you to go through, but for right now, just go ahead, get this set up, get it ready, and please go ahead and troubleshoot your heart out if you want to. Now, be aware, some of these scenarios are very, very complex, so don't expect to hop into just anything and fix it. Probably won't happen very easy. Even with the hints, these are very challenging, many of them. But they're fantastic for learning troubleshooting skills. And hopefully we'll have NetLabs up and going next week, one way or another. Actually, one of the students in our class, Kyle, he went through the process of actually troubleshooting, and he came up with a scenario that he thinks is causing the problem, and that's fantastic. Bravo and cheers to Kyle for doing that. Thank you very much. But hopefully we'll have everything up and ready for next week, and then we can get back on track. But we're fine. We can go through these assignments. It's always good to practice our troubleshooting anyway. All right, everybody. Contact me if you have any questions. Thank you very much. Bye now.